Hello, I thought we'd have a look and see what we've grown in our first season on our new site. I'm Liz Zorab and this is Byther Farm. About a week after we moved in, I planted one blue Hubbard plant over this side of this very large pile of manure, and I planted a second squash up there somewhere which has grown in that direction. And the blue Hubbard has absolutely loved it here. There's obviously been enough moisture, lots of nutrients. It produced masses, a very lush growth. But it's also produced two pretty good sized squashes. While these are nearly ripe, nearly ready to harvest, not quite ready yet. And the easy way to tell is there is a section of stem that goes from the leafy vine to the fruit, and that will turn brown. And when that's brown, these are very definitely ready to harvest and can be cured, which means leaving them in a dry, coolish place. We'll actually leave them on the kitchen table or possibly in the barn just for a couple of weeks to allow the skin to go really dry, and that cures it and preserves the flesh on the inside. And then we'll be able to keep those until we want to use them, anything up to 9 months or maybe even a year. Now, we're not going to keep them that long because we've only got 2 this year, so we will be eating those over the winter. The second squash, which is higher up, I'm looking and looking. I can't see that it's actually produced any fruit. It has produced some flowers. It's the end of the second week in October. I don't think that's going to do anything else for us now, but at least we've got 2 good sized squashes from here. This area is what I had thought would turn into our vegetable garden, and I've quite quickly changed my mind. But I had already got some vegetables in here, and this has been quite successful. The area has got really weedy. I haven't tended to it. But what that's mean is that the wildlife has moved in, and already this morning I've been joined by a wren, which is just picking at some of the seeds of the weeds. It seems to be really enjoying itself. Over here we'd put the domed fruit cage, which I've now moved over to the food forest, and along this row I've planted a variety of things. This is quite a large leaf, Nepeta, I still don't know how to say it. It's catmint. It's a very pretty one. It's a pale pink, almost white flowered one. I think this is one that was taken from an old tractor tyre in our last home, but it could be one that we've been given because I don't remember the flowers being that pale before. What I can see is gone to seed, and there are a lot of seeds I can collect here. So I'm going to come out with an envelope, shake those seeds in and get those sown as soon as I can. And hopefully they'll germinate between now and next spring. And then I can have more of these young plants all over the food forest. And then there's a row here of potatoes. These are Sarpo Mira. They were planted really quite late for growing main crop potatoes, but I'm confident that there will be some small potatoes there, a small harvest. They have been flowering. The one thing I haven't done though is come and added more material on top of them to exclude the light from the tubers. So fingers crossed that we get some that aren't green. This is a yellow courgette. I can see that there are some very tiny courgettes that are formed. However, slugs have eaten these. I failed to give it any support, so it's crawling along the ground, and these little courgettes are just getting eaten as fast as they're growing. When I planted these potatoes, I just put cardboard down on the ground. I put some well-rotted manure on top of that. I made a little hole and pushed the seed potato in. So they are actually growing in manure, but they will have put their roots down through that cardboard into the soil by now. So it will be interesting to see what happens with those. And then back here is another area that was covered with cardboard. I put down some compost. This is a peat-free compost, which I just placed on top. And then I've planted in various courgettes. Well, I've got to say, that was a complete fail, because although I watered them when they first went in, they have hardly grown, which tells me that they probably needed the little holes made and their roots to go down into the ground and not just to be sitting on top of that cardboard without enough water. So over the coming months I'm going to be tidying up this area and clearing it of all the bits and pieces of man-made materials, and we have yet to decide what will happen with this area. I'd quite like to put pigs in it next spring, but this fence may not be strong enough. Now, although it's not terribly wobbly, here it is a bit further down, so I think we'd need to have a new fence put in, and right now that's not something we can afford to do. So I might have to get clever with some pallets and reuse some of the old fence stakes and just see what I can create that would make a pig-proof pen. The advantages of putting pigs in this area is that they will snuffle down and root amongst the soil, and they'll actually turn over, eat and pretty much destroy all of these weed roots. And in that section there's an awful lot of docks. Now, I did start cutting them back, and I did pretty well, cleared quite a large area, but I didn't get to all of that because I then moved on to another project once I'd realised this wasn't going to be our main vegetable garden. This brassica tunnel has been a real success. I started by putting down a cornstarch film mulch to suppress the weeds. I didn't place it so it came out of the edge, so I then went through and just popped some cardboard down as well. But in here I've been growing a selection of cabbages, and let's just pull this away and I can show you how they're getting on. So here we've got red cabbage. They are just starting to heart up. The hearts are about 4 inches across. They're a pointed variety, which I haven't grown before. These ones are a round-headed red cabbage. Then down along here we've got some green cabbages, some pointed ones like a hispy, and there are a couple of Savoy cabbages too. So they aren't ready for harvesting yet, but I can leave them in the ground and they are winter hardy. They will just sit there until I'm ready to harvest them. There's still a bit of the growing season left here. We haven't started having frosts yet. The grass is still growing, so I'm going to guess that these cabbages will continue to grow. But I am going to make sure that they're tucked in, and although this netting was to protect them against cabbage white, it's also protecting them against our very healthy pigeon population. I've just found a huge slug. Go over there, friend. So I think I will be growing cabbages under netting all year round, because there are a lot of crows, there are a lot of pigeons. I don't want them just ripping at the leaves. And at the far end of this tunnel there are some Swiss chard. Some of them have done better than others, but there are 4 or 5 here that are certainly going to give us a harvest during the hungry gap, and that's the important thing at the moment. And over here this has been a real success. At the beginning of August, Erica from Erica's Little Welsh Garden helped me fill this raised bed. We did this kind of hugelkultur style with layers of wood and wood chippings, and also with lots and lots of manure. And then I planted it up around August the 7th. These luscious plants at the front are endive, and they were given to me by Adam and Arath as young plants to go in. They've really enjoyed having all that manure beneath their roots. And then I also put in some tiny weeny seedlings. They weren't really very much beyond the seed leaf stage, and these are turnips. They're a white turnip. The variety is Snowball, and these are about 2 to 2.5 inches across. So I'm going to harvest not all of them, but a few of them, thin them out a little bit. They were multi-sown in modules, so there's 2 or 3 plants per point. There's also some calendula. In the centre here is a variegated perennial kale. And then in a row down this side are some multi-sown beetroot and also some kale. So hopefully this bed will continue to supply us with leafy greens in the form of the endives, the kale and the young beetroot leaves for the next few months. And in preparation for more plants going in during the late autumn and winter and for early next year, I've been sowing plenty of seeds into trays. I've sown some winter imperial lettuce. Now usually I grow winter density. I didn't have any of those seeds, but I did have the winter imperial. So I've done 4 rows of those. So that's 28 plants. I can see that despite having been sown on the 9th and it's now the 14th, they are starting to germinate. So I can see at least 3 that have germinated there. That's exciting. Oh, and another one. So 4 have already germinated in just less than a week. Some of the other seeds I've sown need a period of stratification. That's a period of cold to trigger the seeds to then start germinating. So I've got those in. They'll stay out here in the back of the barn, and I will check them for their water levels every now and then. I don't want them to get soaking wet and just stay drenched. They've had good water now. I will just keep an eye that they don't get too dry. But equally, I don't want them to be sitting in soggy water. That's just going to rot those seeds. The next thing I want to think about for my vegetable garden is either a cold frame, a greenhouse or a polytunnel, so that I can take the seed sowing and the winter growing up a next level. And so wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.